Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Ability. So today we're going to be talking about another cold spell. We've recently covered Ice Bolt, Ice Blast, Glacial Spike, as well as all the armors, so make sure you check out those videos. And I've previously covered Cold Mastery, although I wish I hadn't, because it would have been nice to cover it with the new Sunder charms in mind. However, the next on the list is Frost Nova. So we're going to be covering Frost Nova today. Frost Nova is an interesting ability that revolves around AoE damage. It is not a single target ability, and it should never be judged on those merits. The damage of Frost Nova is, of course, going to be much lower than the damage of something like Ice Blast, just simply because Frost Nova doesn't have the same kind of potential as Ice Blast. Ice Blast is a single target damage marvel. It does really good damage against one target, and that's what you should use it for. It's really good damage against one target. Like if you're fighting Diablo or something, you're going to be firing Ice Blast. If you're fighting Diablo, you're not going to be shooting Frost Novas. Do you know why? Because Frost Novas are meant for big, giant groups. They're also meant for safety. And we're going to be talking about that as well. Let's go ahead and beef it up to its maximum here. So let's go ahead and drop in actually, you know, let's reset our points real quick. Let's grab warmth as well because we're going to need it, and I'll tell you why. So we're going to max out Frost Nova, and then we're going to max out the synergies for Frost Nova. So we need Blizzard and we need Frozen Orb maxed out. So we're going to go down here and we're going to grab Blizzard and we're going to grab Frozen Orb, and then we're also going to drop 20 points into our Cold Mastery, and let's grab 1 point in our Frozen Armor as well. Now, when it comes to this particular ability, we are looking at a very high damage AoE effect, but a very low damage single target effect. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, it means that if you're fighting one monster, you're not really going to do very much damage because it's only going to dish out 430 to 450 damage to one monster. Now, of course, we also have our Cold Mastery to take into account here, which is, of course, probably doubling that for any monster that's not immune. And even if you're using, in the future, if you're using a Sunder Charm, you're going to be able to get just about every monster down to negative 100%. So we can pretty much effectively say that the damage of our damage of our Frost Nova is 815,907 times 2, which is going to give us a total damage on the Frost Nova of, what, 1,600 to 1,800? So about 1,800 damage per Frost Nova, which is pretty pathetic, especially when you consider Ice Blast can get up to, like, I think it's 3,000. Like, it's 3,000 damage, and then it doubles with the Cold Mastery as well, so it's like 6,000. So we're doing far less damage than the single target ability. But the beauty of Frost Nova is not in its single target damage, it's in the fact that it can dish out that damage to everything nearby for that duration. And as you can see, you can effectively kill a rather large amount of monsters with this particular ability. The other very nice thing about Frost Nova is its exceedingly long cold duration, which is really, really nice for defensive purposes. You would be wise, actually, to keep Frost Nova on a click, a button, just specifically to use it as a defensive mechanic. So what I mean by this is, let's say you're in a situation where you're in trouble, you can very easily toss a 1 or 2 Frost Novas out, chilling all nearby monsters and effectively making it much easier to kite them. Kiting is the process by which you are not specifically trying to kill them and not specifically not trying to kill them, but you're not trying to die yourself. So you're trying to play keep away, so to speak, from the monsters. And having the ability to chill every nearby monster with the Frost Nova is a very effective means to have a defensive mechanic. And this is essentially going to be something that you can utilize to your benefit. Not just sorceresses, but also melee characters, ranged characters. Pretty much anybody in the game can have an effect that has your Frost Nova on it. In fact, if we go over to Amazon Basin and we take a look at Frost Nova, you will find that Frost Nova is a effect that actually exists on quite a large number of items, and it might not be the highest level, but it is actually pretty prevalent. You can get it on just about any armor or amulet. You can also get it on gloves. I've seen it on gloves quite a bit. On top of that, we also have level 9 with a 5% chance on Tiamat's Rebuke. We have level 5 with a 10% chance on Cold Kill Hatchet. We have level 4 with a 5% chance on any hit power item that you craft. We also have a level 3 with a 10% chance on Dangoon's Teaching Reinforced Mace. Level 8 with a 33% chance on Shadow Killer Battle Cestus, which is actually really fun. I have a video on that if you'd like to see it, and it's actually kind of insane because Kicksins can actually hit really fast. And so utilizing the Shadow Killer Battle Cestus results in an insanely large number of Frost Nova casts in a very short period of time. Faster even than a Sorceress can ever achieve on her own, which is kind of insane. And then we also have the level 22 Frost Nova from the Ice Missile Weapon, which is also pretty cool. So, you know, there are a lot of different items in the game that can give you the beneficial effect of Frost Nova, and it's not necessarily about the damage. And this is where things get really interesting because, you know, you don't necessarily need to have high damage to get good effect out of an ability. Frost Nova is literally like proof in the pudding of this because it allows you to dish out a relatively good effect to the targets nearby, you know, essentially chilling them, making it much harder for those monsters to get at you, to actually fight you. You know, it's absolutely great for kiting because you can literally just kite around the monsters. Now, earlier I said that I needed to have warmth. Now, why do I absolutely have to have warmth? Well, the answer to that question is because the mana cost on Frost Nova is kind of insane, especially even in consideration to other abilities. As you can see, I can very quickly drain my mana to 0, and I have about 489 right now with maximum warmth. Now, if I increase my mana pool, my mana pool to a higher level, my regeneration will go up. But I guarantee you at 42 mana and a high faster cast rate, you will burn through your mana absolutely insanely with Frost Nova. And it seems to be balanced that way on purpose because obviously you can hit so many targets with it. But in comparison to other abilities, it just has a mana cost which is kind of insane. Frozen Orb and Blizzard have similar mana costs at 53 for Blizzard and 40 for Frozen Orb. But here's the thing. Blizzard and Frozen Orb are delayed abilities. You can't cast them super duper ridiculously fast, not even if you wanted to. So they generally don't tend to have any issues with cast speed or mana cost. I mean, as you can see, I can sit here and just hold down the button with Blizzard, and my mana is not really going down anywhere near as fast as it does with Frost Nova. So if you are planning to build a Frost Nova character, do keep in mind that, well, you have to have some amazing mana regeneration to keep up the ability to spam Frost Nova. And you also need to keep in mind that Frost Nova is not a single target damage ability, and you're going to have to augment Frost Nova with something else. Now, thankfully, one of the synergies for Frost Nova is Frozen Orb. And Frozen Orb is a absolutely excellent single target ability because it does a very large amount of damage to a single target. It can also be used as a AoE ability as well, although each one of the orbs or the projectiles that comes from a Frozen Orb does get absorbed by targets. So unlike Frost Nova, which will hit everything nearby, no matter what, Frozen Orb has a lot more difficulty hitting large groups. The larger the group, the less Frozen Orb tends to do, whereas Frost Nova doesn't really have that disability. You could be in the middle of 200 monsters, and if they were grouped tightly enough, you would hit every single one of those 200 with Frost Nova. Whereas if you cast Frozen Orb in a group of 200 monsters, it's going to get eaten up relatively quickly, and it's going to do nowhere near as much damage as it does to a single target, or a smaller group, rather. All in all, Frost Nova is just one of those weird abilities that doesn't really work out quite so well. And the reason is because you need single target damage. It's good to have a balance of single target and AoE. And an ability that is only AoE often gets overlooked because, well, you don't only fight groups of monsters. You have to fight bosses. You got to fight Duriel. You got to fight Diablo. You got to fight Bale. You got to fight Ubers and things like that. And having an ability that is only AoE is nowhere near as effective as having an ability that can be both, or having an ability like Ice Blast and Glacial Spike, which can be alternated between. On top of that, the mana cost on Frost Nova is just extremely prohibitive. And it's not that you can't potentially make a very amazing character with a Frost Nova character. It's just that it's so ridiculously hard to level up with. And I know because I've done this before. So I have spent time trying to build a Frost Nova Sorceress, like from the ground up, so to speak. Not because a lot of people will take a character, G-rush them up, and just like put the points in and be like, hey, I have a functioning character. But a lot of the times it's extremely difficult to actually level that character. Frost Nova is a really low level skill, and the mana cost on it is just dumb, insane, stupid. And at a low level, when you already have mana issues, Frost Nova is just impossible to cast. Even at a low level, you'll see that Frost Nova still costs 23 mana at level 14. If I take off my Iron Jangbong and bring it back down to level 1, it's still a mana cost of 9 per cast, whereas something like Ice Bolt is 3 and Ice Blast is 6. It's literally triple the mana cost of Ice Bolt at level 1, and if I put some points into it, it just goes up even higher. Let me take off my plus to skills so we can get a better look at this. So as you can see, it goes from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 13, 13 to 14, 14 to 15, and before you know it, like once you get to like level 10, you're already casting 18 mana per cast. And then when you get to level 20, even without plus to skills, it's 28 mana per cast. And then very shortly thereafter, of course, you're going to have to beef it up further because the damage of Frost Nova is just so ridiculously low. So you end up in a situation where you have to beef it up higher to get the damage that you need. Because as you can see right now, it's only 128 to 144. Without the synergies, it does like absolutely nothing. And so we go down and we grab the synergies, and you get your first synergy brings it up to 432, which is pathetic. Your second synergy brings it up to 720, which isn't even really that good. And then you beef up your Cold Mastery, which of course doubles it. And then you're going to obviously use your Iron, you're probably not going to use an Iron Jangbong's Archon Zotted Staff, but there it is. If you guys have never seen a ethereal Iron Jangbong double upgraded Zotted Archon Staff, then I don't know what world you live in, because this is the bling right here. This is the BLING. All right. So even with all my plus to skills, now it's at 42 mana cost, and it's going to continue to rise even higher to the point where it's just kind of insane. And once you add in faster cast and all those other abilities, you're going to burn through your mana in seconds. Like, it's going to take you absolutely no time to burn through your mana, which to me kind of screams Energy Shield Sorceress. So one of the supreme mana regeneration builds is the Energy Shield Sorceress, usually utilizing maximum warmth, Energy Shield, telekinesis, and anything else that you can get to increase her mana as high as it can possibly be. Because quite honestly, if you're going to build a Frost Nova Sorceress, you're probably going to need as much mana as you possibly can get. Otherwise, you're just going to constantly be out. Just constantly, you're going to be out of mana. I mean, I can literally count, and like my 489 mana lasts me, like, let's see. Let me go ahead and dump some points into warmth too, just to be fair. So we got max warmth, we've got max Frost Nova. So 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000, 6 1000. So about 6 seconds and my entire mana pool is gone. And it's going to take a lot longer than that for that to regenerate than 6 seconds. Because I don't really have enough mana right now to force my mana to regenerate faster than that. And I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is when you think about Frost Nova, think about that it is an AoE damage ability only. It is not meant for single target. It doesn't work very well in single target. It's never was meant to. It also has an extremely high mana cost, and it does extremely well against huge groups of monsters. Like, the bigger the better. So, like, if you're fighting literally like 300 cows in the cow level and you have them all nice and neatly grouped up, there is no skill on this window that is going to do more damage than Frost Nova, because Frost Nova can hit all 300 in one cast. But it's going to do absolutely nothing to small groups, and it's going to do absolutely nothing to the single targets. And I mean, that's pretty much it. With the addition of Sunder Charms, though, Frost Nova might actually be something that could be fun to build. I don't know. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos. Get out there and shoot some Rings of Frost out and chill all your enemies, because if you don't, well, you're a fool.